Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, wondering if you've somehow strayed from God's path? Perhaps life's taken an unexpected turn, leaving you questioning everything you thought you knew. Well, beloved, prepare your heart for a revelation that might just change the way you view your journey forever. Picture this: you're standing before a vast tapestry, intricate and beautiful, yet from your vantage point, it appears to be nothing but a jumble of threads. That tapestry? It's your life, and from where you're standing, it might not make much sense. But here's the extraordinary truth: God sees the full picture, and every thread, even the ones that seem out of place, is woven with divine purpose. Now, I know what you're thinking, but my life feels more like a tangled mess than a masterpiece. Fear not, for we serve a God who specializes in turning messes into messages and tests into testimonies. Remember the story of Ruth. This Moabite widow's life seemed to be in shambles, yet her faithfulness led her to become the great-grandmother of King David and an ancestor of Jesus Christ himself. Talk about a plot twist. But let's dive deeper into this mystery of God's ways. Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." It's as if God's operating on a completely different plane, one where setbacks are setups and delays are divine alignments. Consider the life of Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned. His story reads like a tragedy. But fast forward a few chapters, and we find him as the second most powerful man in Egypt, saving nations from famine. Joseph's own words sum it up beautifully. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. Are you ready to uncover the hidden blessings in your struggles? Keep reading, because the next revelation might just revolutionize your perspective on life's challenges. Here's a mind-bending truth. Sometimes God's greatest blessings come disguised as our biggest disappointments. That job you didn't get? It might have been God protecting you from a toxic environment. That relationship that fell apart? Perhaps it was making way for the person God truly has for you. It's like the Lord is playing a cosmic game of chess, and every move, even the ones that seem like setbacks to us, is advancing His ultimate strategy. But how do we align ourselves with this divine strategy? It starts with surrender. Proverbs 3:5-6 exhorts us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." This isn't a passive surrender. It's an active, daily choice to yield our will to His. Imagine you're on a road trip with God. He's the driver, and you're the navigator. But here's the twist. The map you're holding only shows the next few miles. The rest is blank. This is where faith comes in. It's trusting that even when you can't see the destination, the one driving knows exactly where he's taking you. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: waiting. In our instant gratification culture, waiting can feel like torture. But in God's economy, waiting isn't wasted time. It's preparation time. Think of David, anointed as king as a young shepherd boy, yet he spent years running for his life before ascending to the throne. Those years weren't a divine oversight. They were a divinely orchestrated boot camp preparing him for the weight of the crown. Brace yourself for a paradigm shift. The next section unveils a powerful truth that could transform your approach to life's challenges and propel you into your God-given destiny. Here's a revolutionary concept. What if every obstacle in your path isn't a roadblock, but a stepping stone? What if every giant you face isn't there to defeat you, but to develop you? This perspective changes everything. Suddenly, that difficult coworker becomes an opportunity to develop patience. That financial struggle becomes a chance to cultivate faith and stewardship. The Apostle Paul grasped this concept profoundly. In 2 Corinthians 12:9-10, he writes, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. For when I am weak, then I am strong.'" It's a paradox that flies in the face of worldly wisdom. Our weaknesses become the very channels through which God's strength flows. So how do we practically apply this in our daily walk? It begins with renewing our minds. Romans 12:2 urges us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This renewal is a daily process of aligning our thoughts with God's truth. It's choosing to see our circumstances through the lens of faith rather than fear. Cultivating a heart of gratitude is another powerful tool. Thessalonians 5:18 instructs us to give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Notice it doesn't say to give thanks for all circumstances, but in all circumstances, even in the midst of trials, we can thank God for His presence, His promises, and the growth He's producing in us. Another vital aspect of navigating God's unexpected paths is community. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 wisely states, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." Surround yourself with fellow believers who can encourage you, pray for you, and sometimes carry you when the journey gets tough. Remember, your story is still being written. That chapter you're in right now, it's not the end. It's merely setting the stage for a glorious plot twist that will leave you in awe of God's faithfulness. As Jeremiah 29:11 assures us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So, beloved, as you navigate the twists and turns of your journey, hold fast to this truth. The God who parted the Red Sea, who brought water from a rock, who raised Christ from the dead, that same God is orchestrating every detail of your life with meticulous care and unfathomable love. Your divine detour is not a derailment, it's a setup for a miracle. Your delay is not a denial, it's an opportunity for God to exceed your expectations. And your struggle is not your story, it's merely the backdrop for a testimony that will echo into eternity. Are you ready to embrace the adventure, to trust the author of your faith even when the plot seems unclear? Remember, in God's story, the best chapters are often the unexpected ones. So step out in faith, embrace the journey, and prepare to be amazed as God's master plan unfolds in ways you never could have imagined.